My boyfriend is obsessed with his ex and he doesn't try to hide it. Thinking back to it now, it was so obvious from the start that I would never compare to his ex. I met Matthew at a college party. We accidentally bumped into each other, but he started hitting on me immediately. I was really flattered and it didn't hurt that he was extremely attractive. We stuck together throughout the party and somewhere along the night, we ended up drinking in a bathtub. I thought it was pretty silly, but I wasn't going to say no to Matthew. He brought along 2 beer bottles and asked me to play a game of truth, but if we don't want to answer a question we have to drink. It was all going well, but we were getting more intoxicated by the minute. I then asked him about his relationships because if this guy had a girlfriend, I needed to know now before I did something I would regret. I expected anything but him crying out of nowhere and chugging his beer bottle. I immediately asked what was wrong and he admitted that his girlfriend just broke up with him. He didn't even want to be at this party, but his friends dragged him to it. He said I was helping him forget about her until I brought her up. Needless to say, I spent the rest of my night comforting a crying Matthew. In a way, I liked that he was so vulnerable to me, a stranger, and I liked that he wasn't afraid to cry in front of others. It was those traits that led me to seek him out for the next week. When I found him again, he remembered me and he looked so happy to see me. I never had a guy look at me the way he did. It was like all my problems disappeared as I looked into his ocean eyes and the memories of the party flooded through me, making me relive every single moment I spent with him. I knew then I needed him in my life. I asked him to hang out and he agreed, saying he had so much fun talking to me at the party. A swarm of butterflies filled my stomach at that moment and I knew they were never going to die. Matthew was just everything I needed. After a year of dating, I knew I was madly in love with him. Every time I was with him, life was just easier because he always comforted me through the tough times. I hate to say it, but I was envisioning my future with Matthew. I saw us getting married, having kids, and growing old together. Well, all that changed during Halloween. We were going to every single party at our college, so we needed different outfits for each event. I was definitely not an outfit repeater, so I was coming up with ideas for the both of us. I knew I wanted to do at least one couple costume, so I asked him if he wanted to be Raven and Beast Boy from Teen Titans because I loved that show. While he was previously very involved in this conversation and seemed just as excited as I was, as soon as I said that he got all quiet and reclusive. It's important to mention that we had music playing in the background as we talked and we were each taking turns putting on a song. Well, we were in the middle of my song and he changed it to Put Glimpse of Us by Joji. I found that to be extremely weird, but I didn't comment on it. I wasn't even paying attention to the lyrics, so I just thought he wanted to put on a calm song compared to the blaring music I had on. He didn't want to keep talking about our Halloween costumes though, which bumped me out. Writing this now, I see I was bumped out about the wrong thing. From that moment on, my boyfriend started to ignore my messages. He stopped texting me good morning and good night, didn't talk to me about his day, and we didn't call at night like we usually would. I kept trying to talk to him in person, but he always made an excuse to get me to back off. That's when I decided to talk to his friends about it. Because we dated for a year, I became really close with all his friends and I think of them as the older brothers I never had. The betrayal that followed made me think otherwise on this. They didn't deserve to be considered family to me. So, I asked them why he wasn't talking to me and they said they weren't sure because he wasn't talking to them either. That made me feel some sort of relief to know I wasn't the only one being ignored, but that relief was short-lived. They asked me if we got into a fight or what started this, and they started laughing their asses off when I said we were fine until I suggested dressing up as Raven and Beast Boy. I felt like I wasn't in on some inside joke as they all slapped each other on the knee and gasped for air. When they calmed down, they told me he and his ex dressed up as the characters when they were still together. They even showed me pictures and I saw something that shattered my heart even further. Matthew was looking at his ex in a way he had never looked at me before. There was so much adoration and love in his eyes, and even the way he held onto her felt like he never wanted to let her go. I was devastated. The way he looked at her didn't even come close to the way he looked at me. Well, it only got worse from then. His friends were more than eager to spill his secrets once I started asking the right questions. So, Matthew dated her throughout high school and she was his first girlfriend, but she broke up with him because she wanted to fully experience the single college life. Considering she was the life of the party at many events I attended, I see she succeeded. I asked them what Matthew did differently with her than with me, and that's when all of them got quiet. My words hung in the air and the tension could be cut with a knife. My heart was pounding in my chest and my knees wobbled, but the color drained completely from my face when one of them finally answered my question. Nothing, he said. He did nothing differently. When I asked what he meant, he let me know that all the places Matthew had taken me to were all places he had taken his ex. He did everything completely the same, as if trying to be reminded of a happier time. Even the Italy trip he took me to wasn't an original idea of his. His ex loved Italy, I on the other hand, wasn't much of a fan. I'm surprised he didn't break up with me on the spot when I told him that. I clearly didn't measure up to his ex if he was still hooked on her even after a year had passed.